This is Women for Gun Rights with your host Amanda Suffolcool, part of the DC Project.
So, hey folks, welcome to another episode of Women for Gun Rights. And I'm telling you, if you've been tuning in every Friday night, you're seeing that I am finding more and more amazing women all over the country that are doing Second Amendment things that are just phenomenal. And tonight is no different. So tonight I have with us Julie Faris, and Julie Faris is with Aegis Authority, and she is from California. So imagine this, California, guns, education, all of that together. That, you know, those of us who live over here in free America, we wouldn't have even guessed that guns in California came together in the same sentence. So Julie, thanks for joining us on Women for Gun Rights.
Absolutely, Amanda. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem at all. So how did you get to be a California gun girl? Let's start right there with the absolute basics.
Basics. So this happened a few years ago. I was a very new mom with 3 young kids. And I actually had this moment where I thought, what if I was the one that actually had to defend my family in a self-defense situation? And I booked a class with a local charity range and went to a course with 50 other women. I did not know anybody. I was new to the town. And that 8-hour class changed my life. I left the range that day literally bouncing up and down in my car looking for those next steps. And that is what put me here 10 years later.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So isn't it funny how you can define like an epiphany moment, and it was something that caused something that just completely changes the trajectory of your life?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So when you say it puts you here, so tell folks where here is. Where are you? What are you doing? What are you involved in?
Well, I'll segue just on that story. So once I left that class, it wasn't just about what was the right firearm for me for home defense. I really launched into the instructor side of wanting to have other women experience what I experienced that day. So I spent the next 2 years taking any instructor course I could get my hands on here in California. Did all my NRA basic, instructor courses, and came back as a volunteer and director to that program, volunteering for the next 4 years, and trained 1,000 women.
Oh my.
What I saw, it was life-changing. To share that experience and see other moms and other women on this same journey, that's what kept me going. What ended up happening is women kept repeating this basic course because there were no next steps. Mm-hmm. So then I started thinking, I wonder if I could be that next step. So Steve launched Aegis Authority, which is our co-ed firearms training company. And at the same time, the other solution to that was me launching a chapter of A Girl and a Gun. It was the fastest exploding chapter of A Girl and a Gun. And we've had the chapter for 5 years. And now we have the co-ed training on the Aegis Authority side and the women's training on the A Girl and a Gun side.
Oh, that's pretty amazing as you kind of watch where the journey is. So when you say Steve, you just kind of popped him right into the equation there. When you say Steve, that is your husband, and you're such a gun person that I believe you guys spent your honeymoon at a firearms training academy recently.
We did. We were the oddity at the training. So Steve and I commit 100 hours each of training per year to keep our level of training relevant and also things that we can bring back to our students. So we booked our trip to WAFT and Ambassador Academy this year, which is where you and I met,
mm-hmm.
and actually spent our honeymoon learning unarmed defense with WAFT and going through the entire Ambassador Academy program. And that in itself, to be able to do as a partnership, really, people talk about us as having magic together. And the way that we teach together with Steve's 22 years of Navy experience, which I have huge respect for, and me coming in on the civilian side, really adds a balance to all of the training that we do. But yes, we were the audited Ambassador Academy.
I think that's amazing. So you say that you and Steve commit to 100 hours of training a year. That's a pretty hefty number. And where did it come from?
So we started looking back at how our training calendar worked for how we spend our time with students. And what we started doing was we actually book out our own personal training first per year, and we scout out and research all the different types of instructors that we have respect for, that we want to learn from, that are out of our genre here in California. And once we book those and get those on the calendar, then we build our own business calendar around those so that we don't miss opportunities for us to train.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that it was a magic number. It was just when you look at the time involved in flying, a good course is typically 3 to 5 days long. And we do something different every year. Last year we did Force Science Institute. This year, we did Ambassador Academy, and we're going back to SIG. So each year it's different based on different elements of what we want to learn.
Well, that makes so much fun. My radio partner for Eye on the Target Radio, who's my brother, we challenge each other each year to do something unique and different, and it's sort of in the training or whatever. So one year it was to compete in the national matches at Camp Perry. One year it was to participate in USPSA for a year's cycle, just to kind of learn how that all works. So each year it's something a little bit different as to what we do and how we do it. This year I'm taking him to gun sight so that he can practice in the shoot house. I've been, so I'm retaking the 250 class and he's taking it for the first time.
So that means you'll beat him, right?
He's an amazing shot. It was pretty funny because you have to kind of, when you go to gun sight, you have to kind of rate your own experiences and your own skill set to tell them. And I was like, well, I don't know how to rate my own skill set. I just don't. And he's like, well, tell him that you're accurate as all get out, but you're slower than, well, he used some other expletive, slower than smoke. So I went to the 250 class, and I came home with the challenge coin, which means that I worked on speed to add to my accuracy. And I am more proud of that challenge coin than I think I am of my engineering degree, right? I mean, it was like, I know that I'm accurate, but he's right. I'm slow. So I need to speed that up.
Love the challenge coins. Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
So it was,
I think people,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't think people recognize how many opportunities we do have to go and train. 100 hours actually goes pretty fast. So.
Well, and there's so many really good instructors out there. I talked to a guy the other day who kept saying his instructor. And I said, I can't say I have an instructor because I have so many. I pick this one, I pick that one. I go to Masad Ayub, it's wherever.
Yep.
And he's like, well, no, my guy knows it. And I'm like,
I hear that a lot too.
Oop, I'll just go, oop, okay. If you as an instructor think that you know it all, or if you as a student think your instructor knows it all, in both cases, I think you're wrong. Right?
Yeah. There's always something to learn. Always something to change up, always something to learn.
Well, and I think you learn as much from your students as you learn from other instructors. And so if you're not open to learning, you're just rusting.
I agree.
So, okay, so let's talk about Aegis Authority. What do they do? What do they offer? And you're in California, so you're in Southern California. So where exactly are you, and how can people find you?
So we are technically in San Bernardino County. We have contracts with 5 different ranges. You can find us at aegisauthority.com. And we have a multitude of different training. I like to look at it like this. We open the doors to help them find the courage to walk through that door and find their training. So we I'll use one of my students as an example. I love this story. She came to a basic class with me 3 years ago at Bass Pro Shops, which is one of the locations that we teach. She came in, never handling a firearm before, nothing, knew nothing. She came through that basic handgun class, ended up buying a Glock 19, spent the next month sending me weekly videos of her dry fire practice and just loading and unloading and showing clear, just those little steps. Came back and worked through all the next steps that we work her through. And there was a GSSF match coming up at one of the local ranges, and I wasn't able to attend. And she ended up coming out as the senior female winner of that GSSF match. She's now gone on to get her CCW permit in Los Angeles County, now bakes cookies for all the girls that come shoot with us. And the transformation that comes from inspiring somebody to take those next steps and having somebody who knows their story, knows what they personally want to work on, and then giving them whatever little confidence they need to go through that, that's what we do. Our class sizes are small. We understand the journey that people are going on and help them work through that. We do have co-ed classes. We do skill builder development classes on the range. The other thing that makes us unique is a lot of our training is done midweek. So I will do most of my women's classes on a Monday. The range is quiet. They get a ton of personal attention in the pro shots. We can walk through things together. And then when we get out on our outdoor ranges, they have a nice, quiet experience and have a positive experience with all of it.
Well, and I think that makes a lot of sense, because if you're really serious, you can take a day off work, you can schedule it,
Yep.
and you can do it, and you're not in the crowd, and you're not in the rush, and you're not in the whatever where you're like, hey, dude, chill over there while we're over here or something, all of that.
Well, especially being a new shooter, you want that first experience to be so positive that they want to come back. And unfortunately, all it takes is one negative thing to happen, and it might alter that experience. So as a premier firearms instructor, I want to make sure that every little aspect of that experience is on point and world class for them.
Oh, that is great. So you guys at Aegis Authority, how old is that company? And if you're at 5 ranges, how do you schedule your time? That sounds like you're just busy.
We just work all the time. No. This is our 5th year in business. We spent the first 3 years of our time just volunteering at different ranges. For me personally, just gaining more experience so that we're in our 5th year. But it depends on the events that we're having. Our CCW qualifications are held at one main range. I do a lot of giving back to the community. So we have a range up in Big Bear that we host one of our women's social events at. And all the money that we get from that event once a month goes back to a local charity. And so that's how we work hand in hand with this range. So we have different relationships with different ranges based on the training that we're doing and based on what we're hosting and who we want to support.
Oh, how neat. How absolute neat. So you then started a Girl and a Gun chapter, and you said it's one of the fastest growing chapters in the United States. Why do you think? Why do you think it's so? What makes you so unique? What makes it so fast growing? What's the secret?
Every chapter is different. I think the things that make us stand out is we are extremely welcoming of anybody who comes in any walk of life. We have an extremely diverse group, but from the moment they come into this chapter, they are being greeted with a friendly face. People know their names. The girls in our chapter have been with me for over 5 years since we started the chapter. I think the other big thing is the chapter is driven by the women. I'm just there to facilitate what they want to see happen. So if I've got a group of girls who want to try out their first competition, we're going to do a match together. If we have a group of girls who don't know anything about concealed carry, we're going to break that down and show them what they need to get through that process effectively. So the girls kind of drive what they want to do. I have a lot of young moms who have kids in school, so we will coordinate the schedule so that they can attend events. Ultimately, if you walk on our range on a girls' night out, it is like electricity going through the range.
Mm-hmm.
The talking, the smiling, the camaraderie is off the charts. And I think it's just because we facilitate that environment. I have girls that drive 2 hours for this event once a month because they want to be there with their friends. They want to be a part of the sisterhood. They're learning something new every single time, and they feel supported by that environment.
2 hours. That is
Yeah.
that is
I have girls who will
amazing.
drive from Los Angeles to come up to our event.
That says so absolute so much. So what's on the calendar? What are your girls wanting to learn this year? What's 2022 bringing to A Girl and a Gun in your chapter?
Couple of things. We're seeing a huge trend in learning optics and their red dots. So we do a couple of things with that. Really a focus on unarmed defense and self-defense. We're finding that a lot of these moms don't feel safe anymore. And we're finding a huge drive towards self-defense, which has also led me to fulfill a dream, which I started last year, which is our Women's Defensive Workshop. And it's a 2-day event that is run by Aegis Authority, and it's exclusive to our A Girl and a Gun High Desert chapter members, and it is a focus on self-defense. The first day is all in the classroom with unarmed training with a Krav Maga instructor, Renee Stringer from Lioness Tactics. We're also flying in Karen Whitlock from Trigger Indoor Range in Georgia, who's going to teach us an image-based decisional drills. And then the second day on the range is all skills drawing from the holster with a focus on self-defense. The other thing we like to do is bring in a criminal defense attorney, a female attorney, who actually talks with these women. If they did have to fight back in an act of self-defense, what's going to happen in the aftermath of that? So we're giving them every layer of the process.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is pretty cool. So you've done it a couple years now, or you've done it 1 year. This is the next year.
1 year.
So
Yep.
so how did it go? How did year one go?
It went good. It went better than I expected. So I have a background in hospitality, so I love event planning. So the planning went really well. The girls, I think, were amazed by the sponsors that we had. We get huge sponsors for this event on a local level. So that's always great. My only regret is I didn't record enough testimonials. I would have loved to have captured them at the end of the day of day 2. Just seeing that change in them from trying different firearms with the focus of self-defense. But it was so successful. When we launched it this year, it sold out within 2 days.
So how many seats? How big is it?
We keep it small. It's only 30 women.
Okay.
That's intentional because we still want them to have that personal attention, but it still allows us to, so it'll be 30 women this year.
30 women. That is amazing because you're changing the life of 30 women. That's not small. That's a kind of a big deal.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that really is. So that's called the Women's Defense Workshop. So will you record any of it? Will people be able to watch some of it, or you're just going to keep it to where they have to kind of hang with you, or they're just not even getting a snippet?
You know, we have not recorded it. I like to, this is something we give back to our local chapter. We have a lot of young moms who can't travel out of state for training, who are constricted to pretty tight work schedules. So right now we're just going to keep it for them. We do have a videographer coming this year, so we will have some more video from this year's event. And if people want to get in on it, they can join our chapter and join us for the 3rd annual workshop.
that and sign up early. I know that
Yeah.
I know that for a Girl and a Guns conference that happens in Colorado, that the girls in my state stay up overnight to sign up because of when they open it, so that Robin Sandoval opens it of an evening, And so I don't know, like here it's like 1 o'clock in the morning or something when they actually open conference sign up. And so all of
Yep.
our girls stay and kind of hang and have almost a sleepover where they're all waiting so that they can all try to register in mass.
Yep. Well, we have a group of girls going back to national conference this year, and this was designed here locally for our
Hmm.
chapter, so
Hmm.
women who could not make it out to that have something local to do. But also some of the feedback I got was is women who also attend the Girl and Again National Conference. This helped develop their skills if they were drawing from a holster for their first time, how they do ear check for the first time. It gave them that extra layer of confidence before they went to the national conference. So they work hand in hand.
Oh, I think it's great. And having things that are local and having things that are national just kind of depends on where you are in your position in life as to whether you can do that, whether you can leave
Absolutely.
town or not, but you can probably find a time to get away for a weekend, even if you can't get away to head completely out of town. So I think a girl and a gun or just women shooting teaches so many things in the mentoring aspect, in the coaching aspect. So why don't you step down that path a little bit and tell us about being a female coach and mentor.
So there's two things I'll touch on with this. One, I am always grateful and filled with gratitude for larger people in the industry who have been so kind to me. Julie Golub is one of those people. I was a nobody to Julie Golub, and I met her at SHOT Show 5 years ago, and I continue to bribe her with fresh oatmeal cookies every year as a thank you. But being a small part of this industry, she has never forgotten my name. Well, it helps because I'm a Julie too, but
Hmm.
she always takes time to just check in on me. How am I doing, even at my small level of this? And I'll never forget how she has made me feel. And I always want to give that back to other people. So Steve and I actually run the USCCA Certified Instructor Program here in California. We are both training counselors with the organization. And when people come through our instructor workshop and leave wanting to launch their own businesses, be firearms instructors, make that positive example for other people, they often don't know what to do. So, what I've done on the women's side is I've had over 10 women actually mentor with me, go through the RSO certification, the instructor certification. They'll mentor me and work on the range with me for all of our Girl and the Gun social events, come train with me at all the levels of training on the range. And then what that does is that's allowed them to leave. I have four that have left the state, launched their own businesses, launched their own chapters of a Girl and a Gun, and are doing the same thing and layering their personalities with that. And just that type of mentorship, if that inspires somebody else to do this with 100 other women somewhere else in the country, I'm going to do that. It's If I can inspire that on a small level, I know how other people have impacted me on their level.
That's pretty amazing. So it's like planting a seed that grows a tree that drops acorns that then get carried away and start over.
You say that way better, yes.
No, but I mean, it makes so much sense. And I don't think that we stop to think about how, when we interact with people, how we make them feel. And I think that there should be more thought to that. I I have to say that I tell my friends that I'm not necessarily the thoughtful or the nice friend. So if they come up with a really nice idea or a thoughtful idea, I'm in. I can do it. But darn it, I never think of that. So I admire and applaud those people who are inherently nice and have that nice deep thought process that is just inherent in them. So I celebrate that in you, Julie.
Well, thank you. Well, I think there's some people who, I'm willing to share the mistakes that I made. And if that can help somebody's business be better out of the gate than decisions I made, I would love to see them be successful. The other thing that I see, maybe some of these women don't believe they can do it. If I can do it, they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to give that extra belief in them, they can absolutely do it also.
They really can. I mean, anybody and everybody can if they put enough time and effort and focus into it. And it's believing that you can do it. There was somebody just recently that was on Facebook, and they were saying, "I wish I could play a guitar as well as so and so." And it was like, "Well, when was the last time you picked up a guitar?" Right? You can't wish it. You gotta do it, and you gotta keep doing it. And so some days your song stinks, and some days your song just comes together. And so putting that time in and being willing to do that is part and parcel of the process.
Well, and on that note, starting out, we were running the company, both continuing to work full-time jobs. And when you really, Steve ended up finally leaving his full-time job to take the company full-time. And when you really go full force as an entrepreneur into believing that you can do it and diving everything you have into your business and make that your entrepreneurial lifestyle, it's effective.
It's effective, and it changes things, and it changes who you are, and it changes how people perceive you, because you're no longer just giving it what you have left. You're giving it what you have. Absolutely. So, in women and firearms, when you start to look at who are the people that you want to interact with or mentor with or train under or model with, have you given some thought as to who those people are across the country that you're going to look up and kind of train with or something, or hang with or learn from? Or
I learn from everybody. So the reason Karen Whitlock is actually coming out to our women's defensive workshop, I meet Karen on the range all across the country taking almost the same instructor courses that I am. And so I'm inspired by her journey. So I'm going to loop her into what we're doing. And I find that they don't have to be the most famous. They don't have to be the most expensive. There's different people who are going to gravitate to you based on their personalities, how they represent themselves in the industry, and what they do. So I love being on the range with Karen. So she's coming into that. As another female instructor, I will have to say Diana Mueller with Ambassador Academy and what she offers to us. That was probably one of my top 2 favorite trainings I've ever done in this career. They have really dialed that in on every level. They talk about things that aren't being done at other classes as far as our 2A advocacy. That was a really impactful training. And those of you out there who haven't done it, book it for next year. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, I felt that same thing. I went in, I think it was 2019 I went. And then when she asked me to come back as an instructor, I was like, oh, I am absolutely thrilled, and I will find a way to make that work, because I think that being able to be involved even on a perimeter of everything that she does is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, and as you know, Amanda, if you're not adapting in this industry, you're not growing. And to have people of your caliber, of her caliber, Kelly Pigeon, Beth Walker, all these people that they brought in to help dial us in to be better, and to see all those women and men embracing us to elevate us and adapt to be better, it's worth every penny.
It's
There's your plug, Diana.
There you go. I look at like Ambassador Academy to be like summer camp with my heroes, right? I on a political level recommend people look up TJ Kurgan and figure out his model, because I think that it is transferable to so many different industries. And I mean, she really brings in some great instructors, great trainers, and great thought processes. And there's stuff that will come back to you 6 months later, a year later, where you're like, oh, I have to go back. Let me check my notes. But there's this, and now it's just planted a whole nother seed in a whole nother direction.
Well, and even just, that she hosted at Loft, I had heard the name, I've seen it in the industry, but Philip has really done a dynamic job at that. Really got me thinking outside the box for things that I do here,
Mm-hmm.
especially in California. What if I have women who aren't going through the concealed carry process? If they can go through some of this training, like what Philip's doing at WAFT, that could change somebody's life just by carrying a flashlight. So it was very eye opening, not specific to firearms,
Mm-hmm.
but how we can impact people's lives on different layers of this two-way journey that we're all on.
Yeah, and the fact that WAFT is like listed now as one of the top 5 firearms training academies in the United States, and the fact that we get to hang there is pretty interesting. And every time you go, he's added more and more stuff. So he is not one to rest either. He just
Nope.
continues. So folks, if you don't know it, look it up. So it is WOFT, or Western Orlando Firearms Training. But look that up because he has now opened it to the public, which before was by invitation only. And so now he's made it so you can get involved. So speaking of that kind of a thing, so Philip's made that available. Do you have people traveling in to train at Aegis? Is that something that you've got in mind? Are you guys going to offer some higher level or high level stuff so that it becomes a destination?
I would love that. What we've seen happening so far is I do have women who come in, who stay with me, who know us, that want to train with us. We've had many instructors. The furthest I've had come out is I had a girlfriend, Erin, fly in from Pennsylvania to do our instructor class because she wanted to train with us. So we do see people coming in, especially
Mm-hmm.
on the instructor level,
Mm-hmm.
wanting to learn from us and find out what we have done that has made us successful in the 5 years. Would love to see more of that, and I think that we will eventually be in a location or a place where we could also start traveling and maybe bringing certain trainings to other people in other parts of the country as well.
I think the one interesting thing about being a firearms trainer of some acclaim or some note is I was talking to someone whose name you would know that has been on he's been on Top Shot a couple times. He's on a couple different gun video stuff. He trains all over the country, and he says that he cannot fill a class in his home state to save his bacon, but that every place else he goes, he is sold out. And I find that absolutely unique in the fact that if they're local, people are like, yeah, that's not a big deal, because I think that they're so available. But when they're traveling in or traveling to you, all of a sudden it's now or never.
Yep, I think everybody has their own niche and what makes them unique, and that's awesome that he figured that out. Imagine if he just stayed in his hometown.
He just stayed in his hometown and goes, well, I just can't get any instructor. I can't get any students. I can't get anybody interested. So no, now he's periodically on the road. Well, I think now he's more on TV. I just saw a new notice that he's going to be on TV a whole lot more. So there you go. So I have to ask, what's it like training with your husband all the time? Because I've been married 35 years, and I'm afraid that too much. I had a friend one time, her husband retired, and she said, I married you for better or worse, but not for lunch. Um, so, so tell me about how too much togetherness, not enough togetherness, or is it's just still brand sparkly new?
No, it is. It is. We have a phrase, and you'll see our hashtags. We call it magic together. And if COVID didn't tell you whether or not you could live with your spouse, you probably learned that very quickly if you could or could not. For us, we realized that we could. Here's There is a chemistry that I cannot describe, and it started when we started volunteering at a range together, and it was magic. And we started co-teaching classes together, and we would have students come up to us and say, there is a chemistry and a magic when you guys teach together. And I think it's the diversity of our backgrounds. It's probably my enthusiasm with his seriousness.
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's his military background with my mom's civilian background combination. um, The woman who actually described the magic was actually Christine from Snag Mag. And we met her at SHOT Show randomly. We were coming out of a bathroom and we saw this gorgeous red hair, and she was sitting on the steps filling all of her packets to give to people to start promoting Snag Mag. We had a friendship that developed with her and a business partnership. They have since sold Snag Mag. But she started saying, you guys just have this magic when you're on the floor together and you're communicating together. So it is a God-given blessing that we found each other when we did in life, and to have a partner who continues to elevate, each other. We know our place with different trainings that we're doing. I do all the women's training on my own for certain classes for a reason. But I can't say enough, if you have a partner, whether it's a husband or just like you with your radio show, when you find that partnership that works, and you see other people inspired by it, run with it.
Run with it. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
One of the things that I find absolutely humorous is that when Rob and I teach together, because I'm more outgoing and he's more solid and serious, that type of a partnership, and different students will be like, I'm their instructor, or somebody else in the same class will say Rob is the instructor and I'm the assistant. And so they connect with one, but generally not both of us. And that becomes their primary instructor. And then the other one is just augmenting whatever that is. And I find that so fascinating, because they're like, your assistant really knows what she's talking about. And he's like, yeah, I guess she does, or vice versa, and it's just funny how people will slot you based on their life experiences and how it all fits together.
Well, and if you stay true to who you are, you're going to naturally make those connections with people. If you were to pull aside, we have a group of people who've been training with us for about 4 years now, and Steve knows on certain mornings I can't be on the range until about noon. So he'll start the class and then I'll show up. And he's since learned that when my car drives up on the range, he has to call a cold range because everybody wants to leave the range and come say hi to me. So you have those different connections with different students, and it makes it fun because you can play off of it. As a husband and wife team too, we have all the hand motions in the back of the classroom of what to say when you need things to speed up or stop talking.
Right.
So when you have that synergy, it does work.
Yeah, that's pretty cute. I think that the thing that I notice most about the Steve and Julie partnership is how stinking proud Steve is of you and your accomplishments. And that was so obvious as he's talking about you. While I was doing his one-on-one interview, he's talking about you and the things that you've accomplished. And you're not even there to hear them, but he was just so stinking proud of you.
Don't make me cry, Amanda. He has been such a huge supporter of my personal journey, in addition to my firearms journey. And when you have somebody who wholeheartedly believes in you and what you're capable of, and building that confidence on a daily level, that only makes you want to be better for all of the students that you're in front of. He is an amazing partner, husband, an incredible firearms instructor. And when people naturally see that, we don't have to list out a resume. They come to that range, they know who we are, they trust us with their training, they trust their families and their kids with us. That's where that magic happens. But it also happens with our partnership behind the scenes, just doing laundry and cooking together.
Well, let's talk a little bit about a piece of that. And that is that when you come into an instructor position and you are professional from the beginning, then you inherently have that credibility, and it's yours to give away. You don't have to earn it, and you don't have to brag it. You just have it. And they assume, the student assumes when they've picked you for this laundry list of things, and they assume that you're the best. And all you can do is give that away if you aren't. And the things that I hear is give anything away. You guys start with that level of professionalism, and you just keep that at that level.
When we discussed the type of business that we wanted to have, we talked early on about not wanting anything that was going to be mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
We always wanted to be that step above for our students. And so we want them to see excellence. We want them to walk into a classroom and be greeted by us knowing their name and everything set up, ready to go. Those little tiny details, despite all of your education and training that you're going to give them, is what we want them to see.
Mm-hmm. Because then they don't even know what takes place behind the curtain. What they see is the performance in front of the curtain. They don't need to see how the sausage is made. They just need to enjoy the meal.
Absolutely.
that is it. So you've got we'll just say that off camera, you invited me to come to the Women's Defense Workshop for 2023. So how does that, can we talk about that for a minute, or is that letting the secret?
Absolutely.
Is that letting the cat out of the bag?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
So
go ahead.
Where would that fit? Because it sounds like, I mean, you've got so many things. I don't see what I could bring to the game.
Oh, Amanda, you're too humble. One of the things that I love to do, and Steve loves to do, is to elevate other women in the 2A community. I hope that the women in our chapter now, because of this interview, start following you and sharing it with other women in the community and their families and spouses. Mm-hmm. So we change it up every year for the Women's Defensive Workshop. And next year, because of your experience with your concealed carry fashion shows, we thought it would be a wonderful invite to invite you out for this workshop and facilitate a concealed carry workshop for all of these women coming. I have a couple of ideas of how we can implement it.
Okay.
We do a VIP dinner on Friday night for certain people who want to come to that and meet people like you before the conference or the workshop even starts. We could also conclude that on Saturday evening. So I have a couple of different ideas, but we're very excited about you coming to do this for us.
Oh, it'll be so much fun. We have been doing concealed carry fashion shows since 2014, and it's, if somebody says, what's it really about? It's, we show you what can't be seen. So many people, when they first start to think about concealed carry, they look at it and they're like, I've got a neon sign pointing at a certain position in my body where my gun is, and I know that everybody knows I have it. And so our goal is really to show that you don't notice, you don't see it. And as long as you're not fiddling with it or poking at it or whatever, that the population will not notice that you are concealed and carrying.
One of the things that really drew me to what you did, Amanda, is that you are using real life models.
Oh, yeah.
They're everyday people like me who you're going to put into that environment. And so you're going to show all different body types, different carry types, the real estate agent and the Wrangler jeans and boots type. That is what I love about what you did when I saw your fashion show on the internet, is that you're taking true people just like me, a mom, and putting them up there and showing how they can conceal carry with their own clothes, their own style.
Well, and the thing, actually, the secret recipe to that is it makes it easier for me, because gun handling skills are much harder to teach than modeling skills when you look at it, until you get to the real high level models. And so if we just try to do this with models, which I've seen people do, it's like they're wincible moments with the gun handling portion, and so that's what we wanted to avoid. And we want people to see that they are people just like you and I. Some are taller, some are shorter. Everybody's got different shapes, and they've got different styles in how they dress, and all of that kind of stuff comes into play in concealed carry. So,
well, I'm excited. So is that a yes?
Yeah, it's as long as I can make the let's say it's a 95% yes. I just need to make sure
Okay.
that's the scheduled date fits with everything else I've got, but it's far enough in the future that there is not much that could interrupt it. We'll just say not
All
much.
right.
So when your students start to conceal carry, what are the biggest questions they ask you?
So I started to get so many questions that this year I launched an intro to concealed carry class. Biggest questions I get are obviously what's the best firearm to conceal carry with, and that's going to depend on their lifestyle, their job, what they wear every single day. I find women like to touch things and feel them, and when they see product up on the internet, they didn't know if that was something they like or not. So I have two full tables now that I bring out for the concealed carry classes, the good and the bad. And through the course, they can actually take the breaks, try on the belly bands, try on the shirts, the pants, go through all the concealed carry purses. Because at the end of the day, you recognize that the way I conceal carry is going to be different than the way you conceal carry. And so those are some of the big questions we get. I also encourage them to, when they first start doing it, wear their holster or their belly band around the house for a couple of days. So that just like what you said, they're not fidgeting when they're out in public,
Mm-hmm.
or they're not catching it on a chair when they stand up, or how do you drive with it? So, and then, we share fun stories about, simple things like holster retention.
Mm-hmm.
I was teaching a class one day at a store that has a classroom, and the woman in the stall next to me had her firearm drop on the ground. She did not have good retention in her holster. She wasn't in my class. I didn't know who she was. And she would not come out of the stall. So I share that as an example with the women that you do want to train at home with all of your gear and make sure it works well before you start taking that out into public.
Right. I was involved on an internet conversation one time that stuck with me, but I found it was the most humorous. And that was, there are some holsters that are dependent upon the tightness of your belt, the tightness of your clothing to hold them in position. And so the difference between females and males when they're using the restroom is that 10% of the time men drop trow, if you will, and 100% of the time women do. And so you've got to figure out what are you going to do and how are you going to do it. So this whole conversation was a guy's conversation about what do you do with your gun when you drop trow, right? And I found it was hysterical to watch and listen and just participate in this. And the thing that I found that made the most amount of sense was that one guy said, well, his was one of the crimp to your body style holsters. He says, so he just drops it in the hammock that is his underwear because he would never forget it, because when he pulls up his pants, he's going to notice that he didn't put his gun back, right? And I just found that amazingly humorous, but very wise, because at the same time, you're sitting there watching, there was an air marshal recently that left their gun on the back of a toilet in a public restroom on the other side of the airport security, right? That's bad gear and unacceptable
Yeah.
behavior. So those are the kind of things where you've got to keep and create some kind of a method that works for you. So if this is the holstering method that you've chosen, how do you work it so that something bad never happens? Or that your gun doesn't go skittering 2 stalls over while you take a seat, right?
Yep.
So I tell folks in my concealed carry classes that one of the worst things that can happen is that your gun drops into the toilet, because the only thing you can hope is that it does so while you're taking a seat, not getting up from one, and you can't leave it there. So you have bad decisions that have to be made. So why don't we plan on it in advance of that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been on a range before, and instructors will joke because we're on a lot of outdoor ranges, and if your gun falls in the Smurf juice, we're not going after it.
Right, right. So are you leaving it or are you not? Right? What is
Yeah,
that, and where are you? Yeah, but if you think about that stuff in advance, if your instructor at least plants the seed, then it makes things, because you can't go mentally to some place that you've not even thought about going. So you've got to think those things through. As crazy as it sounds, it is our reality.
absolutely. Well, and if you're setting them up to succeed beyond your class, that's going to help them with decisions, not only just with gear, but lifestyle, how they're choosing different selections. I like to tell women, the different types of guns that you buy. How many shoes do you have in your closet? You're going to have different firearms for different occasions. So you're going to have firearms that are specific to your concealed carry, because that's what you have to do here in California. You might have a firearm that's specific to your home defense. Then you're going to have that fun firearm that you can glitter up all you want and Cerakote for all your competition. So when you break it down to things that they already know, then they start purchasing based on those right decisions for all those different reasons.
Yeah, because when they try to do one gun for all of those things, it's bad for all of those things.
Right?
Yeah, it doesn't do any of them well. I guess is how that goes. So okay, as we go to leave, what one thing do you want our audience to take away as the interview from Julie Faris and Aegis Authority on women for gun rights?
Oh, that's a good one, Amanda.
Oh,
You
I'm so
know,
sorry.
you've left me speechless. At the end of the day, I never thought that I would be a woman in a position to do this full time and make a small impact on a local community of women who maybe would not have had anybody to go to that they trusted. If there's anything about you that inspires you, whether it's firearms or something else, go for it. I, by nature, am not a risk taker. And the fact that my life is where it is today, if you think that you're not one decision away from a better life, I'm an example of that. The decisions that I've made leading up to this have led me to influence women in another way that I'm grateful to be in this position. We run our business with, kindness, tenacity, a humility that hopefully drives people to be that better person for their family and their community. So I hope that if you're in Southern California or you want to fly in for training, as Amanda suggested, all of our classes are on aegisauthority.com. You can read our story, read all about our classes, and it would be a pleasure to train with you. It's an honor
Okay.
to be here. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Well, it's so great to have you. And one of the other things that I know that you're willing to do is if someone is interested in starting like a Girl and a Gun chapter in their community, reach out to you. If they are interested in being a firearms instructor in their community, reach out. So this isn't just about Aegis Authority and Julie selling her product. This is about Julie offering to be a mentor and changing your world and causing it to somewhat align with her world.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Well, there you go. Okay, so folks, tune in next Friday and the Friday after that. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on OpsLens. We are working on turning this into a podcast at some point. It's just not today, but it will be coming soon. And then stay tuned for that announcement. So I'm Amanda Suffolk. This is Women for Gun Rights. We'll see you next week.
This is Women for Gun Rights with your host Amanda Suffolk, part of the DC Project.